Hello?
Hello, Garnet.
Yes, Katherine, how are you?
Yeah, hi. I'm really well, thank you. It's wonderful to meet you. I'm just going to announce who you are and what we're going to do on our show today. So today I'm interviewing Garnet Schulhauser, who lives in Canada and has a couple of books out at the moment. One is Dancing on a Stamp, which is his first book, and we'll talk about his second book and let him introduce that one himself and give you some character on Garnet. And we'll be highlighting his books and his journey with Albert, his spirit guide, who has taken him out on astral travels and has given him a lot of wisdom about the universe and philosophies for humanity. So welcome, Garnet.
Thank you for having me, Katherine. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, look, I'm delighted to meet you. I saw your video on the Moore Show that you've only just completed, and I'm fascinated by you. I really do love your message, and I'm really happy that you contacted me in order to promote your book. So if you'd like to give us a little bit of information about your books first of all, and then we can talk about your story.
Okay, well, as you mentioned, I have published two books. My first one was Dancing on a Stamp, and my second one is Dancing Forever with Spirit. My second one is available right now in ebook format, and the paperback should be available by the end of March. Anyway, those two books are detail my encounters with my spirit guide, Albert. And the encounters are sort of very different in the sense that in my first book, when I encountered Albert, it happened when I was walking down the street one day when I was still practicing law. And all of a sudden, this homeless man jumps out of the shadows and stands right in front of me and sort of stops me in my tracks. Anyway, that homeless man turned out to be Albert, my spirit guide, and he was disguised as a homeless man. And in my first book, we have a dialogue, a series of conversations in which I ask Albert all the sort of the big eternal life questions that have been bothering me for a long time, like who am I, why am I here, what is my life's purpose, and what happens to me when I die. Yep. And I had been raised as a Roman Catholic, and so I knew the answers that the church had taught me, but I didn't quite think that those were the right answers. And so I'd been asking myself these questions, and Albert said, okay, I'm here to answer your questions, and furthermore, I want you to write a book so that my revelations to you can be available to everyone. So that resulted in my first book.
That's very interesting. I mean, I was raised as a Roman Catholic as well, and had a lot of questions about that as I grew older. And I find it interesting because people are reticent to come out of their closet when they have a disagreement about a religion, because it's political. And when you get direct message from Spirit, it is so pure and it is so on track to the light that you can't help but want to share that. And it can sometimes go against common ground or common thinking. It's I suppose something that a lot of authors who are into spirituality find they'll get opposition sometimes when they're doing things like that. It takes guts to get that message out there and take a chance. And I think you must be driven very much by authenticity to take that on.
Yeah, and I had to struggle with that, Katherine, because I still have three sisters who are Catholic, go to church, and my book basically goes against the thread that what the Catholic Church taught us all when we were younger, and still teach, actually. Yep. And so I was concerned about what they would think. A lot of my friends are religious people, Christians, but even more so, a lot of my law colleagues that I practiced law with for years and years, I was concerned about what they would think because this was sort of totally out of character for how they knew me when I was practicing law. So I had to struggle with it, and I was afraid that I would lose some people along the way, some friends. I thought I'd probably make some new ones, but it was one of those things that it was like you mentioned, I had to decide to come out of the spiritual closet, and once I made that decision, then I just full steam ahead because it just seemed like the right thing to do. Well, I have totally no regrets whatsoever.
Yeah, I totally get it. I'm in the same boat because, I have a Connect to Creator program here, and I also channel as yourself and have contact with the other side. So, and I think there are many people who have this, but it's taking the guts to have conviction with your consciousness and allow that to come forward for other people to hear, despite what may be, the repercussion of that in the general sense. I think it's great. Myself, I've written a book, Connect to Creator. my connection to Creator Books channeled directly, and I know yours are as well. You have your Albert, your spirit guide that you're talking to, who's come to visit you and who's taking you to the other side and giving you very physical and concrete affirmation. That's fantastic. So give us a little bit of background on what you've done with that.
Well, I published Dancing on a Stamp 2 years ago, and then the second set of encounters with Albert, which I describe in my second book, Dancing Forever with Spirit, were kind of totally different because in the first set, I met with Albert, and he appeared physically for the first 3 times. After that, we spoke by telepathy, so he was just a voice in my head, and we communicated that way. But I was always in my home or in my office or wherever when we talked.
Did he turn up on you? Like when he was in physical form, did he sort of, like you said the first time, he literally jumped out at you in the street? How did he come to you the next 2 times?
Well, the same way as a homeless man, except the second time I went looking for him because after the first encounter, he surprised me. He had this amazing, dazzling blue eyes that sent me a gush of warm, unconditional love. It just sort of filled my whole body with peace and security. So I knew he was a special guy. And then he kind of disappeared. I went back the next day to find him, and eventually I found him sitting on a park bench. And I sat down beside him, and we began our conversation. And the third time he appeared in my backyard as the homeless man. And we had another conversation. And then after that, he just said, look at, he would speak to me by telepathy. He'd say, I don't have any need to appear to you in physical form anymore. That was my way of sort of easing you into the conversation. Because if I had just started talking to you as a voice in your head, you probably would have thought you're losing your mind. So, and he's right. And so this way, when he did speak to me by telepathy, I recognized the voice. I knew who he was, and I felt really comfortable with that. And I knew that I knew what was going on and who he was. So that's how we did it in the first set of encounters. In the second set, and he had told me as we finished our first set of encounters that I was going to write not only 1 book but probably 3 or 4 books. And so I knew that my mission was to write another book after I had finished the first one. But he had sort of gone offline for a while, and I was beginning to wonder what had happened. Would he show up again? And then one night, I was asleep in my bed. I heard a noise. I sat up in bed, and there, standing in the doorway of my bedroom, was this ghost-like ethereal figure sort of shimmering in a doorway. As it moved closer to me, I could recognize that it was Albert in his homeless man disguise, but he was in astral form, and so it was sort of like semi-transparent. And I said, "Well, hi, Albert. I'm glad to see you again. And what's up?" And he said, "Well, we're starting our second set of encounters. Only this time, because I believe that a picture is worth 1,000 words. I'm going to take you places to show you things, and then you can come back and describe them in your book." And I think that's the best way. He said that's the best way for me to impart the wisdom and the revelations that I want you to have. So I said, fine. Do I need to? I said, do I need a passport? Are we going to be gone long? Should I tell my wife where I'm going? And who's going to take out my garbage in the morning? And he said, "Oh no, don't worry about that." He said, "You'll be back in your body before morning, and no one will even know you've gone." So he reached out and grabbed my arm and pulled me basically out of my physical body, pulled my astral body out. I turned around and looked, and my body was still sleeping soundly in bed. And I thought, well, that's great. And he said, "Follow me." And he took me by the arm, and we rose up through the ceiling, up through the clouds. We were floating just like a bubble. So I felt totally weightless. And Albert could sort of to choose the speed that we traveled at. We could go somewhere instantaneously, or we could just travel slowly. He let me float up slowly the first time, and we parked in an orbit above Earth, and he let me turn around and look at our beautiful planet. And there it was, the blue oceans, the white clouds, the darker land masses. It's like a beautiful jewel floating in a black sea of ink. It was really quite breathtaking, and I can understand how the astronauts feel when they see Earth from orbit. It was just really quite amazing.
Yeah, it's a mesmerizing vision, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is. So then he took me on our first mission, which was to go to the spirit side. So he turned me around, and there I saw this shimmering doorway, and inside the doorway was just black. It was like black velvet. There were no stars.
Yeah.
As we sort of moved through the doorway, all of a sudden there I was standing in this beautiful meadow. It was like incredibly beautiful, lush green grass and beautiful trees and all kinds of wildflowers in 1,000 different colors with wonderful perfume wafting up. It was like the most amazing meadow that you could ever imagine.
And did you find the colours were colours that you're not used to on Earth? Because whenever I've sort of done any connection with spirit, I often see colours that don't seem to be here.
Oh, absolutely. There are so many colors that I had never seen before on Earth, and hard to describe, but they were sort of iridescent, beautiful, different colors on these wildflowers. And yeah, you would never see anything like that on Earth. And on Earth we have very limited sort of color range. There it was just amazing. Like it was, I didn't count them, but there's probably 1,000 different colors that were all incredibly beautiful and very, very different. So it was. I could have just stayed in that meadow forever. It was just such a nice place.
I asked God about the colours once, and I was told that because, in all there is, the frequencies are all that exists. So therefore, as tone and colour are frequencies, all colours can be demonstrated, whereas on Earth, we're stuck inside a certain paradigm of Earth's gravitational pull, and you have a limitation on the one. You only get a certain viewpoint. And that's indicative of why our colour range is actually as limited as it is, because it's also the frequencies that exist within the planetary realm.
Yeah, absolutely. And Earth is of course on the dense plane of lower vibrations, and the spirit side is just like many, many times higher vibration rate. Yep. So you can have this wider range of colors. You're quite right. Yep. That's why we're limited on Earth, and that's something we have to live with. But we can look forward to when we pass going to the spirit side and being able to see this amazing array of colors. It's something to behold. You've seen it, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but it's awesome. but I've seen it in my head, but not in the same way, I think, as you've been. The vision appears to be slightly different to how I get my channeling. It's like you've physically removed yourself and gone there esoterically, if that makes sense. As a part of your humanity still connected to you. I don't know how to describe this. When I channel, my head's with God in a different place, but I lose my identity as myself. Does that make sense? So I understand you. Yeah, no, mine was different because I still had my human identity, my human memories, and I was still I still had my human body, but in astral form. So it was my same body, but just shimmering and transparent. So it was a different sort of. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you. It just occurred to me because I'm in raptures about the way you're describing it. I'm wondering whether your human nervous system was just like, it must be bombarding, to take in the colours when you've still got that connection. It would just be the most awesome intensity. It would have to be.
It was awesome. It was breathtaking. Yeah. I just sort of stood there trying to take it all in, but it was almost too much to take in. It was really, really quite amazing, and it just made me think, okay, this is where I'm going to go back to when my physical body dies on Earth, and it just gives you an amazing feeling of comfort and security, and knowing that this is where I'm going back to. So it was wonderful.
Oh, it would be magical.
And so then we Albert led me sort of on a slow walk through this meadow. We went up a low hill, and at the peak of the hill, I looked down the other side, and there was this group of people at the bottom. And as we got closer, my heart skipped a beat because I could recognize them. There were my mother and my father who had passed away before, and my brother and my grandparents and other relatives, aunts and uncles, who had all passed on before me. And there was even my little dog, Oscar, who came running from behind the crowd. It was a miniature schnauzer who died about 10 years ago. Yeah. He came running out to greet me, his little tail wagging furiously, and I knelt down, and he licked my face, and he was just so happy to see me. I was happy to see him.
Yep.
And so that was my welcoming party, which was prearranged by Albert.
Yep.
It was a wonderful experience, except I was a little apprehensive about meeting my mother.
Yep.
Not because I didn't want to see her, but when she was on Earth, she was a very staunch Roman Catholic, very religious lady. She was a fierce Irish lady who was determined that her husband and 5 children would all make it to heaven, even if she had to drag us kicking and screaming. And so I thought, okay, my book, Dancing on a Stamp, was not very kind to the Catholic Church, and I was afraid of what she would think. Well, she gave me a big hug and said, not to worry. If I was still alive on Earth, I wouldn't be happy about what you said in your book. But now I'm on the spirit side, and I can see the whole picture, and I think you've done a great job, and thank you for spreading Albert's message. So, big relief for me. I ended up giving everyone warm hugs in the welcoming party, and then Albert said, okay, you can see these people again on another trip, but we have business to do. And he led me away, and he took me into this beautiful white city called Aglaia, which is one of the cities on the spirit side. And that, again, was amazing because the streets are full of people, of souls. And they're all dressed in garments and clothes from all kinds of different countries on earth and different eras. It was very colorful. And Albert said to me, souls in the spirit side can appear in whatever form they choose, and they can change it as often as they want. And he said they will often appear in the clothes that of a life that they particularly enjoyed, or that it was very meaningful for them.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And so that's why there was all kinds of different clothes from different eras. It was all very colorful. People were all very happy, very content, laughing and speaking in animated fashions. It was quite amazing, as we went through the street and sort of passed by all of these people. So it was, it was interesting to know. And he said the other thing is that some souls won't appear sort of in human form, but they'll just appear as balls of light, and they can choose to appear that way if they choose. And he said there's never any problem identifying the souls in the spirit side because everyone has a unique energy signature, and other souls can immediately know who they are, no matter what their appearance is. So you can't get lost or disguise yourself because everyone can immediately knows who you are by your energy signature. So that was an interesting point.
That makes a lot of sense. I think for people who see spirit in this realm, people who are coming from the other side and crossing into this realm to appear to them, to give them messages, that sort of stuff, you have to have a way of identifying who that person is. It's good if you have the intuition or if you have a guidance way of understanding, because it can be freaky for people when someone appears in your bedroom, like who is that and how do I know and differentiate? But there's always a telepathic emotion, isn't there? There's a telepathic message that comes across which says, I am this, and you can recognise that energy. So that makes complete sense with the signature. I've had my dad do it to me after he passed and come in and speak to me. And I resonate very much with what you're saying about your mum with the Catholic Church and the seeing spirit on the other side. My dad trained as a Jesuit priest, and so he had a lot of issues around that sort of thing. And when he passed over and came back, he looked very different. He looked like such a wise, beautiful soul that didn't have a gender, and the agenda seemed to belong to that human being who had transferred over to the other side. That's the spirit side. And it seems to me there are levels of dimension of transit that souls go through on the other side. What has Albert shown you about that?
Well, he said that sometimes souls can be, some souls when they pass from their physical body, they cross over very quickly to the spirit side. Other souls will linger for a while. Like some souls will decide, well, I'm going to hang around and I want to see who shows up at my funeral. I've seen that. and they'll hang around and watch their loved ones and try to comfort them, even though it's difficult to get the communication across all the time, but sometimes they can do it. So sometimes they'll stay around and try to comfort their loved ones who are missing, them after they died. And sometimes he said people can even create awful realities for themselves if they firmly believe, for example, that there is a hell. And that they are a bad person and that's where they're going. They will actually create that for themselves temporarily after they pass until their guides come along and say, you just created this for yourself. It's not real. Come with us and we'll take you to the spirit side. So it varies with the people as to how quickly you get over to the spirit side. And then if you've had a very tragic death, like somebody murdered you, you'll go to the spirit side and you'll end up sort of being cocooned in what he called one of their recovery hospitals, where souls who have had a lot of experience in that will sort of cocoon them with a lot of love and try to get them over the fact that they have experienced a horrible death on Earth.
Yeah,
And so
Michael Newton talks about a very similar thing in his books on Journey of the Soul, and this is what you're talking about. This seems to be more and more information on the planet, isn't there, that authenticates this way of passing over and people's knowledge. It's like the Akashic records, everything is being shown to us now on this planet in a way that we are not in denial anymore. We have more direct communication to enlightenment.
Yeah, absolutely. And what Albert says is that the spirit realm has increased the pace of messages, the channeling that are going to people on Earth over the last number of years, particularly starting 30 or 40 years ago, and the messages are being sent through many, many channels, through you, through me, through lots of other people, and the core of the messages is the same because that is really what it is. And so there's different nuances depending on how the channel interprets the message coming from spirit. So there are some slight differences, but the core is always the same. And the pace has been picking up. And so there's more and more of these messengers. And like he said to me, in the 1970s, I would not have written my book, Dancing on a Stamp. And if I hadn't written it, no one would read it because people weren't really quite ready for that yet. But now there's a lot of people who read these books, who listen to your radio show and listen to a lot of other messengers, and it's becoming more and more prevalent. I mean, not everyone's there yet, but we're increasing the number of people who have become spiritually awakened.
And I wonder too, that's something that Creator was showing me actually. Because we are enlightening and people who are really following their truth and their guidance, such as yourself, your body frequency is enlightening to such a point where you are in much more direct contact with your soul. It's not such a disparate energy frequency difference. And so the question of where you are in your own spiritual evolution, you are guiding yourself. And your higher self is coming in and talking more to you and appearing more to you as a more instant channel and as a more real channel. Have you ever thought that Albert may well be a higher aspect of your own higher self?
Yeah, it has occurred to me, and in fact, I've asked him that question, and he declined to answer.
Yeah, I was told to tell you that is truth by Creator, and it was time for you to hear it. So I just thought I'll just drop that in your space because it was really strong when I was listening to your stuff earlier today. That this is like Albert is a high aspect of self on another level within spirit, and something for you to just sit within your own space and explore, because it was time for you to explore that. So maybe you can go back and talk to him and ask, now maybe you're ready to hear something more on it.
Yeah, I will ask him again. His view is that he gives me information that he thinks I'm ready for and that I need, but not other answers.
Yeah, so that
He's giving it to me, spoon-feeding me the information so I'm not overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And so I will ask him again, and I'd be interested to hear it, hear the answer, and that may be subject of another book. But
well, it will be, because, we're all progressing. I had to tell you that was something that was coming up, is there's an enlightenment awareness in me saying that sentence, so that there would be something that you would yourself be able to go and progress with in your own space.
Well, I appreciate you passing that on, because it's something that hasn't been on my mind recently, but now it's going to come to the forefront, and I will pursue that with Albert for sure.
Yeah, because I think it's marvellous, because you just have such a truth and an authenticity, and what you're coming through with it just resonates so purely, and I'm really good at resonating energies, like at picking up on people's stuff, and it is such a pure message, and I'm just so grateful that you chose to ask for an interview on this program, because it's really beautiful when you see someone with such heart authenticity, with absolute channel to spirit, coming through and taking the guts to really come out there and tell everybody what they need to hear. So congratulations, because that's so big, and I don't know whether everybody realises how big that is.
Well, you're very kind, Catherine. Thank you for saying that. And of course, you know as well as I do that things happen for a reason. So I'm on your show for a reason.
Yeah, I figure. We'll figure out what it is once they show us.
Exactly. No, I'm delighted. You're a wonderful host. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, thank you. It's lovely. So I've got to ask you now, where did Albert take you next? You've seen a lot. I know you saw a lot, and there's so many messages you need to share with everyone about humanity and about everything you've seen. So please, I won't interrupt you all the time. I have to tell you that bit.
No, please interrupt me. I enjoy that because it's good for me to know that I'm resonating with you, or if I'm not,
Okay.
you can take me back on the right course. But anyway, so on the spirit side, we're walking through the streets, and we ended up at this big, beautiful building called the Hall of Wisdom.
Yes.
And we go inside, and there's this big chamber inside with high dome ceiling, and there was a semicircle table there with 11 wise souls sitting around it, and Albert said this was the council of wise ones, and they were beautiful people with white hair and beautiful glowing complexions, and they looked very regal, and you could just tell that they were sort of special souls.
Yep.
And they were very advanced souls, and the lady in the center of the table, her name was Sophia. She was the chair of the council, and she explained to me that the Council of Wise Ones is a body of very advanced wise souls whose job it was to oversee the incarnations on our planet, on Earth. And they were there to comment on people's life plans, to make sure that they weren't too ambitious or too easy, and that they would have appropriate goals for the souls so they could, further their evolution through experiences on Earth. And she said that they asked Albert to bring me there because they wanted to give me a message to take back to humans on Earth. And essentially their message was, look, humans, you have a very advanced civilization right now. You have some really advanced technology, but your emotional intelligence has not kept up. And there's still way too much negative emotions on your planet, like fear and all of its spin-offs, like hate and anger and jealousy and greed and lust. And that is what's really holding us back. And the danger is that unless we sort of change course and speed up the process of embracing love and compassion and getting rid of our negative emotions, we could end up in a situation that has happened many times before with human civilization, where an advanced civilization has destroyed itself, has crashed and burned.
Well, Atlantis being one.
Atlantis and Lemuria,
Yep.
And she said there's been a number of others that we're not even aware of where that has happened. And they were fearful that our civilization could end up in the same place.
Yep.
And they didn't want that to happen. Because, of course, we have weapons of mass destruction and nuclear bombs, and we have, if those things get out of control, we can destroy all life on our planet.
Oh, I think human thought is a weapon of mass destruction,
Well,
it's what starts
all
the
actions
drive,
begin with a thought, So, the thoughts are the beginning of all actions, so in a way that's true.
Yeah.
And so what she said was, I want you to go back, follow Albert. He's going to show you some things. We want you to write about it in your book. We want you to help humans, get over this hump and expand their consciousness and raise their vibrations so that eventually the goal is they can move up to Earth in a higher vibration, which some people call the new Earth. Mm-hmm. And the goal is to get that done before humans destroy all life on your planet. Mm-hmm. And so that was sort of the mission. They have many messengers. I'm just one of them.
Yeah.
But they asked me to follow Albert and then write about what I saw, so that hopefully we can help other people, turn the corner and discard negative emotions.
Yeah, I think it's great that you do this because, there are people out there who will naysay that's a possibility. This person makes these things up; these don't exist, but they do exist, and there really is that council. I'm aware of it, and to come back with a message that. And I think there are more people getting channeled these messages, wake up humanity. What are you really affirming? I think it's fantastic that you come back and you write this down for people.
Right, and I was quite happy to do it. And as I continued with my astral travels with Albert, of course, I became aware of a lot of other things, and it just became a real imperative in my mind to sit down and write about them, and hopefully people will read what I have to say or listen to my interviews on radio shows like yours, and we want to get them thinking, to get them to realize that we really do need to take the next step up the spiritual ladder, and we need to do so before we kill more people and abuse more creatures and continue to abuse our Mother Earth. We have to stop all of that, and the way to do that is to just become more spiritually aware. and raise our vibrations. And that's something that can be done. We just need to have a lot of messengers like me and you and a lot of other people spreading the word so that the people who aren't aware do become aware and act accordingly.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think it's a hopeless cause because they don't think they can make a difference, but they don't realise how strong a thought is. And an intention carries all things, and I think each one of us is capable of trying to raise the intention and raise the enlightenment frequency that we personally hold, and that's osmotic, isn't it? It spreads to everyone else that's in contact with you.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're dead right that thoughts are powerful. Thoughts are the beginning of all actions and things that happen in our universe, and thoughts, thoughts are like a wave of energy that spreads out, fans out over the universe, and thoughts can affect other energy and it can affect matter. And focused thoughts are much more powerful than scattered thoughts.
Yep.
Much like a laser beam is more powerful than the beam from a flashlight. And so when we all have those conversations in our mind, and we think we're having a conversation with ourselves.
Yep.
We're really having a conversation with the universe.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
And so we have to be careful about what we think, but when we have positive thoughts about things that we want to have happen, if we concentrate and focus, those thoughts become more powerful, and they do affect other people around you. And you may not think it happens, but it does, and that's why we all have to make an effort to try to help everyone else around us, find this spiritual enlightenment, the place that we all need to go.
Yeah, it brings me the question: did he talk to you about detachment? Like when to give and when to seclude oneself?
No, topic never came up, but I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about it, Catherine.
Well, it's just something that God showed me when I was channeling through, and it is sometimes enlightenment requires you to withdraw. Always have love in the heart, always have light. Laughter is as strong a universal energy as love, just about. To be that being that resonates and osmosis to around you as a central core, to be the light. But that there are times when, as the light, you need to detach yourself from other energies which can't hear you, if that makes sense. And so you can still spread toward it, but you need not to sometimes engage with all things.
Yeah, we didn't really touch on that, but what you say makes a lot of sense, Catherine. And I think that's you're getting a message that has a slightly different nuance than some of the ones I have, and you're getting different answers to questions that I've never asked. And I think that's all part of the process of spreading the message from spirit.
Yeah,
and it's good that we all have different questions because then we get different answers.
Different soul aspects too. Like I'm interested in the mastership councils, the way you saw things, because I know that there are councils of mastership on a soul level that people work at within their own souls. They work at higher levels above this earth plane too. Within your own soul level, where people can get hold of information about you.
Okay, well, my books, Dancing on a Stamp and Dancing Forever with Spirit, you can buy them at most bookstores and a lot of all the popular online bookstores. On my website, which is garnetschulhauser.com or dancingonastamp.com, I have buy links on the website where you just can click on it and you get to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or whatever, and one click you can buy the books. A lot of bricks and mortar stores have them. If your favorite store does not, they can order it for you. And I'd love to hear people's comments and questions. My email address is on my website. I do my best to respond to every email. So if any of your listeners have questions or would like to make a point, please do so. And also on my website, as you've already noticed, I've been on a number of radio talk shows, and the recordings of all those are on my website. So if people want to listen to other recordings to get more background about my books, they can tap into that. There's book trailers for each of my book that you can access from my website. You can read an excerpt from each book. And there's also a video where I have read an excerpt from each book so that you can hear it verbally. So lots of information about it there. And my third book, when it comes out, if they check on my Facebook page or on my website, there'll be more information about when that's coming out. So I'd love to hear from your listeners, Catherine.
Yes, yeah, and I think so. We'll make sure that we put that link up there, and I will send that all through to Nicole at News for the Soul. Now, this will be aired on the 6th of April, so Monday, 5 p.m. PST. And I'm really thrilled to have interviewed you. So thank you so much, Garnet. I could talk to you for absolutely hours, just sharing stories here. There's a lot to share, but maybe not all for on the program. But I'll catch up with you.
Well, thank you for having me, Catherine. I enjoyed this thoroughly. I enjoyed talking to you as well. And maybe sometime when my third book is out, we can do it again.
Certainly, I'd love to. And you take care of yourself. Have the best time, and love to Albert.
Thank you, and have a good. It's morning there, isn't it? Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will. Same to you. So we've been talking now to Garnet Schulhauser about his books, Dancing on a Stamp, Dancing Forever with Spirit, and one to come out, Dance of Heavenly Bliss.
Dance of Heavenly Bliss.
Yeah, that's right. And have a look at those things, because there's a lot of beautiful information, and there's nothing like an open mind and an open heart, and love sent around is osmotic. So smile and have a beautiful and wonderful time sharing your love with the world. Thank you all, and thank you for listening to Katherine Bright on Connect to Create, a program on newsforthesoul.com.